Hey everybody, what's up? Larry from the Movie Cranks here. Today I'm going to be reviewing for you Color Out of Space, which is another low-budget Nicolas Cage movie adapted from the H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space. Made for just $12 million, Color Out of Space was directed by Richard Stanley, who teams up here with the producers of Mandy to try to recreate that formula and that feeling of last year's cult hit, which also starred Nicolas Cage as a man on a path of revenge after his wife is murdered in front of him. And I have to say, Color Out of Space, much like Mandy, isn't going to be for everybody. My personal opinion on Mandy was, this is just a little too weird for me. I watched most of it, but skipped through about 30 or so minutes at the end, and came to the conclusion, like I said, it just wasn't for me. Now, I do see where many do like this film. Boys living in their mom's and dad's basements, with skull posters, listening to death metal and scream music. I'm sure they had a blast with Mandy. But me, my opinion, I just didn't. But Color Out of Space here, I was able to watch this one in its entirety from beginning to end. Trying to describe Color Out of Space for me is a pretty easy task. It's a combination of a couple years. If you remember it, Natalie Portman came out with a movie, Annihilation, that was released on Netflix. And it's about aliens like this one here, a prism of beautiful colors and visuals, plus the horrifying effects that it has on anything and anybody who enters it. Smash that with Mandy and voila. You have it right there, Color Out of Space. A story about a cosmic terror about the Gardners, a family who moves to a remote farm in rural New England to escape the hustle and bustle of the 21st century. While they're still busy trying to adapt to their new life and surroundings in the sticks, a meteorite crashes into their front lawn, infecting both the land and the properties of space and time within this strange otherworldly color. To their horror, the Gardner family discovers this alien force is gradually mutating every life form that it touches, including themselves. So like I said, Annihilation, which could literally exist in the same universe as Color Out of Space, and Mandy forged together to create a new experience. Unfortunately, both movies, Annihilation and Mandy, I just didn't care for. Together, created with a new experience, again, I just didn't care much for it. That's not to say Color Out of Space doesn't have some good performances and some horrifying, disturbing moments. It does, trust me. And that is what I liked most about Color Out of Space. First, to me, this is not a Nicolas Cage movie. He's in the movie, yes, but after an accident occurs, he leaves for most of the second act, only to return later, and for most part, he's just Nicolas Cage, the one we usually get. If there's one thing that I can honestly take away from Mandy, is that it was undoubtedly one of his best performances in years. But here, the weight of this film falls totally onto the younger cast. Madeline Arthur, who to me is a starring role here, who plays Lavina, a young girl intrigued by witchcraft, who in part kind of blames herself for everything that's happening around them to this family, and her brothers, Benny and Jack, played by Brendan Meyer and Julian Hillard, who was on Netflix's, if you remember it, Haunting of Hill House, one of my favorites. If you haven't watched it yet, you need to check it out. It's on Netflix right now. It's a good show. But I think this kid, he really does. He has a promising career ahead of him. His whole face, it literally just oozes 1980s nostalgia. With this current popularity of this whole genre, he's one I could say you should probably look out for in the future. There's even a scene here with him where there's a meteorite when it arrives, and it's visually had me saying, you know what, this is a lot like Close Encounters. Which, while on the subject of these visuals on a budget, just like that scene, they did a great job utilizing these colors, the flowers, the landscapes, the pink flying praying mantises they created, and other wildlife. They did a great job with the resources they had, so I can't really even knock this movie for that at all. Like I said, this movie also comes with some very disturbing moments. Disgusting, scaly arm rashes. Another effect done well here, where there's a time where Cage's arm, it literally looks more like a reptilian arm. Of course, his antidote is to rub some whiskey on it. That just kind of shows you how outlandish and the stupidity of some of the things that actually do happen in this movie. There's also severed fingers, lots of cutting, and what happens, I gotta talk about this, because what happens between the mother and the child was morbid. It's just a weird scene I was truly not expecting, with whimpering screams and whines, and literally, they're gonna stick in my head for years to come. It truly is one of the most horrifying ideas, and not really just ideas, but visuals I've seen in a horror movie in years. And like I said, the impact of it will leave you stunned for days. I would really like to see what these creators could do with a really well-written horror story, because that's the biggest problem this movie faced. The visuals, the acting, the horror, it's all on point, but the story for me here, it's just like Mandy. It's another convoluted, what the hell is going on mess for I'd say the first 45 minutes or so before the horror story gets started. And when the family is introduced, the whole first act, I did think about tapping out. It was just all a little too weird. And yes, I know they were going for some mind hallucination, trippy mind fuckery feel where nothing seems right or even real. But from the get-go, we get this whole family, mother, daughter, sons. They all just seem weird, like an entire family living under one roof with mental illness. With the way it opens at one point, I was like, this is some sort of alternate universe where it's like they're in the future, but yet they live like it's the past, almost like the Amish. Are they even on Earth? I don't even know. I mean, what's going on? I'm so confused. These characters are so weird. I mean, what's the purpose of Chong? Why do they have some 1960s hippie guy living in their backyard in some sort of trailer that looks like it should be the Hansel and Gretel house? Maybe that's what they were trying to go for. I mean, for me, it just didn't work. I couldn't visualize being part of this family. And then another problem ensues, and that's when they're not mentally ill. It's not an alternate universe. They're not supposed to be weird. We're supposed to think this is just an everyday average farming family that practices witchcraft, that also drinks the milk and eats the meat of alpacas, that argues over some stupid, weirdest shit that just makes no sense, that has adolescent children that of course are upset, they're not living it up in the city anymore. Let's just face it, from the get-go, this family never seems normal in any way, shape, or form. And then there's the guy who's supposed to be checking the water for safety, he's in the book, and I believe he's supposed to be a central part of it, but in the movie, he was just, for the most part, unneeded. All of this causes, for me, a connectivity issue with these oddball family members. The dad's always an asshole, the mom just stares off into space a lot, the teenagers are whiny. I couldn't give two shits about who lived, who died. It never really mattered to me. So if you go into Color Out of Space, expect a mostly convoluted first half with oddball, unrelatable characters that leads into a pretty horrifying, well-acted middle half that eventually ends on an unsatisfying note, unfortunately, with characters that I never cared about trying to suddenly make you connect with them. But the horror aspect helped flip this one and the tides all around for me, I gotta be honest, and I'm gonna go ahead and give Color Out of Space a C. Overall, for a low-budget VOD, it may be worth it for some people to watch. I will also say, if you are an H.P. Lovecraft fan, if you like Mandy or Annihilation, you're probably going to have a great time and enjoy this one, as it sticks with the H.P. source material pretty closely. But for me, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not on that level. Maybe I just don't understand what they're trying to create here. Or maybe the whole genre just eludes me, period. But I feel if they would have just mellowed out that first act and made this a normal family of people who you could connect with and understand, this movie could have been really good, maybe even a great horror movie. And it does start to build on some of those things in the third act, when some of the characters do start to seem more normal as they realize it's time to leave. But by that time, it was just a little too late for me. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, subscribe button, it's right there. Click it and join the Cranks. And check out our other videos and help us by sharing on social media, liking, commenting. We also have a Facebook page. You can follow us there. But for now, I think that's all I got. So until next time, guys, see you later.